Welcome to Tanked Up, the podcast all about craft beer and video games. I'm your host Aadil, and this week I'm joined by Lucy.
Just me. Hello.
It's a Will Smith episode for us too.
Or Bill Withers, but whatever you want.
Yeah.
Whichever version of the song you like.
I can't remember.
Sure.
It's at some point Ben and I started calling them Will Smith episodes, and they just stuck. Naturally,
Right.
you probably never hear us saying that because we would only say that if it was Ben and I. So the whole nameology is predicated on you not being there. But I agree, it is you have the correct version in your.
We can be you and Ben can be the Will Smith episode because that's the lamer version of it.
We'll be the
and we'll be the Bill Withers episode.
I love it.
Rolls are right off the tongue.
Oh, yeah, Bill Withers episode. It's been a couple of weeks because I got the horrible COVID, and Ben got a wonderful new child.
Which is worse? You decide.
Oh, I haven't met the new child. I assume she's lovely.
Yes. Far better than COVID, I'm sure.
Yeah, but how you been?
Yeah, I've been alright. Hot, but managing to play one or two games, so the world hasn't completely fallen apart and melted just yet. So
yeah, it must have been really tough not being able to use your Steam Deck because it was over
Yeah.
35 degrees.
I mean, it already gets hot as it is. I've just been making sure that, at night it's not on anything flammable, just in case. So.
That's fair. I mean, it shouldn't, if it's off at night, it shouldn't.
No, yeah, it's fine. It's just like as soon as I put it down after playing it, it's
right.
like, I'm going to bed now.
Yeah, you're like,
I'll just put it on this plastic, hopefully that won't melt.
Yeah. It's either this
Rather
piece
than
of plastic
carpets.
or this pile of kindling I have in my room for no
Yeah.
reason. Well,
It's bin full of nothing but cotton.
yeah. Well, given that you are too warm, why don't you crack a beverage and tell us about it?
Yeah, this is a beer which, unfortunately, me and you didn't get to have source at this time this year. It is the 27th birthday of Cottridge Wines, and they happened. Yeah, it was mid-July, I think their birthday was, and they had.
Yeah, it sounds
they've
about
done
right.
they've done a collaboration with Daya called "Let Me Know Pale Ale." It's got the storefront on the can.
Oh,
there.
very cool.
Mm.
Oh, that might be a keeper can.
Yeah, something that you'll recognise going into, maybe not coming out of. as you've visited twice.
Twice, yeah. I was
Yeah.
gonna say I knew the birthday come by because my phone blinged with the memories from years gone by. I'm like, I know where I was there.
Yeah, good times. And I think what was the last 2 years they didn't have birthday parties, obviously because of COVID. But this time they managed to do it, and it is a juicy pale ale brewed in collaboration with Cottridge Wines to celebrate their 27th birthday. Here's to pioneers of the modern independent UK beer scene. Raise a glass. It's 5.8%.
Oh, that's nice and hefty for a pale.
Yeah. Let me see if it's got any information of what hops are in it. No. I think, they don't really put a lot of info on their cans anymore, but yeah. Yeah, it's 500ml, so look forward to seeing what this is like. But yeah, that's what I've got. How about you?
I've got I Love Lamp.
Right.
It's a pineapple Hefeweizen from Evil Genius, who are from Philadelphia. A German wheat beer with a Hawaiian twist. This refreshing German Hefeweizen got taken on a tropical vacation with the addition of natural pineapple flavor. Does this go against the German beer purity law? Yep. Is that the way we like it? Also, yep.
Yeah.
I always enjoy
pineapple.
Evil Genius's flavor text.
Why I Love Lamp, though?
It's a pineapple in a lamp shape.
Okay.
That's the only thing I can think of.
Yeah. It doesn't seem. I just don't know the link there. Maybe it's something I'm missing. I haven't seen that film in ages, but yeah.
Anchorman apparently.
Yeah, Anchorman.
Yeah.
It's
I don't
Steve
really.
Carell's
I never.
character.
I did.
Shanks, I love lamp.
Is there pineapples involved?
No, not that I remember. No, not getting the connection there. It's very strange. Hey.
Yeah, well.
Listener, if you know.
Keep it to yourself. I don't give a shit. Engagement. If you're watching this on YouTube, comment below on why I should give a shit. Well, I'm gonna pour mine. Why don't you tell me about yours?
It helped if I poured it. I've got yellow cans today, so. It's like when you see a yellow truck and you shout it out or punch somebody or something. I can't remember what it is.
Is that a thing here? We only ever had that with VWs. Punch buggies, we used to call them.
Oh, really? Well, you'd be doing that. There'd be a lot of dead arms in this country if you shouted every time you see a Volkswagen.
Well, specifically a bug.
Oh, okay. Right. Yeah, not many of those seen around these days. Ooh, nice, fruity, tropical smell. Oh, tipped it a bit too much. Almost tossed it down. But yeah, proper tropical, very fruity. It's got that typical Daya smell, that, very fruit forward, tropical nose on it. Looks good. I mean, it's just a block of colour, block of juice, as is typical with Daya beers. Quite a bit of head that's not dissipating.
Oh wow, it looks thick.
Yeah. It looks thick, but I imagine it shouldn't be too thick when it was, okay, it's 5.8%, but hopefully, it isn't just like a full-on, juice bomb.
Yeah.
But yeah, it smells delightful. Yeah, fortunately, not too thick or viscous. It's got a nice body to it, but it's not too thick. It's not complete fruit juice that you're drinking. It's still got, a bit of bite from the hops and the bit of bitterness to it. That's really nice though. If you've had a Daya beer, tastes like one of those. I don't know what quite distinguishes it from a lot of their other offerings, especially as I don't know what hops went into this, or if there was any different processes, or if it's just we're brewing this in Kottrig Wine's name and putting their name on it. But yeah, not really that distinguished from a lot of other Daya beers, but it tastes real good though. I'd probably say there's less fruit in it than most Daya beers, which is nice. It's still got that tropical fruity note to it, a bit of mango, maybe a bit of papaya in it, but it's not all fruit. It's got a nice bit of bitterness at the end, nice piney and resinous taste to it as well. So yeah, but it's just a really good beer from Daya. I mean, if they want to brew this in my name, which is exactly the same beer, I would not be displeased about it. It's a really good tasting beer. Nothing outlandish or extravagant about it, especially when it comes to Daya's usual offering. But yeah, it's nice. I like it. That's good.
Nice. That sounds really good.
Mm-hmm.
Mine poured with a bit of
head,
head, but it disappeared really quickly. You can see it's a bit, sort of like a coppery, or it's a bit less coppery in person, a little more orangey yellow. And it's clearly translucent. You can kind of see my finger go through it. It's definitely Hefeweizen. You get that signature Hefeweizen tartness on the smell. The nose, if you will. I've done this before. And that pineapple is giving it this acidity. It's really quite unique. And some sweetness as well. So just, yeah, it's hard to describe. It's like, oh yeah, Heffa, because it's just the extra acidity and that sweetness is really quite interesting. Um, oh, oh,
Oh.
ah, I'm gonna let this settle and then have another sip.
Okay.
Um, hmm.
That pineapple that's from
There's
your phone,
definitely a wave of legit. Yep, that's pineapple. And it kind of happens by itself for a chunk. So that was the second.
Yeah.
Oh, um,
You do have a good pineapple chunk.
hmm.
Maybe when it's on a piece.
Contentious.
I'm not someone who dislikes pineapple on pizza.
Oh,
Put anything on a pizza and I'll eat it usually.
I grew up. I think we had it quite often. Which, as you know, growing up Muslim, we weren't having the standard North American pineapple on pizza, but we still had pineapple. I can't remember what we had with it, and it was fine. It was one of our standard orders, and then kind of fell out of favor. I don't understand why anyone cares that much about either. It's like this weird meme nonsense.
It is, yeah. I think most people would be fine to have pineapple on the pizza, probably like it, and if they don't, just be like, well, that's just a topping I don't like.
Yeah.
I'd rather, here's something contentious. I'd rather have pineapple than maybe pepperoni on a pizza. Because I'm not a huge fan of pepperoni.
I mean, I've had it a couple of times, but there was a brief moment in my life where, like a few years, where I was clearly non-practicing. I realized I was non-practicing Muslim for most of my life, and was like, why am I not just eating the pig? And then before I became a vegetarian, and so I tried things like pepperoni occasionally, but it never did enough for me to seek it out.
Yeah.
Like I know how to make a good pizza, and that ingredient entering the like potential ingredients list did not really get used that much.
Yeah, it's. I think a lot of the time it can be bad pepperoni, so that's probably a not good quality pepperoni, and just get it out of a packet. So, but yeah, not my favorite. Anyway, how's the beer?
Yeah, so it's the pineapple's doing quite a bit. In the sense that, like, although the nose had a bit of more traditional Hefeweizen notes, this it's there, but the pineapple's kind of more strong, so it takes a while to notice the traditional Hefeweizen notes, and I think part of that is also just because they're that sort of Hefeweizen tartness is melding really well with the acidity of the pineapple. It's if you don't like pineapple, you won't like this beer. But that's not to say that it's like a smack in the face of pineapple. But it is a pineapple beer, right? As my palate's getting...
That's interesting they managed to get pineapple in it, because pineapple is one of those very subtle flavors that seems to always get lost in beer. So.
I wonder if it's, like I said, the fact that the Hefeweizen style lends itself really well. Like I'm getting a bit more malt. Yeah, a bit more malt on the finish now that I've gotten used to things. The finish is kind of aspartame and pineapple-y. Like I think the sweetness is just not it's not strong enough. It's there, so you're like, it's a bit sweet, but not strong enough to feel sweet. So I think that's why I'm feeling like it feels artificial. Because I think the tin said that they put like legit pineapple in here, natural pineapple flavor.
Yeah.
Oh, flavor.
Oh, flavor.
But yeah, it's good. I'm gonna have to report back later on how it settles, just because I have a feeling that my palate's gonna get quite used to the sort of the level of pineapple is here. But once I get used to it, I think maybe it'll feel less like this is a pineapple drink.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, we'll leave it at that for now.
Yeah. Sweet. Games.
Yeah, I have not played a lot in the past couple weeks. For some reason, COVID just made me not want to.
I mean, yeah.
I
Just any
thought
excuse not
well,
to
I'm
play.
supposed to take it easy. So I can't, do my photography or my philosophy work. Oh, I could maybe I'll just muck about and play games. But I just kind of let YouTube put me
Yeah.
in a
Yeah.
cocoon for a week, and then and then here I
You
am.
know what? You know what's even worse though? When sometimes you know, obviously in your case it's like you need something very passive. Just too wiped out to play video games. Sometimes it's even worse when it's like you're ill and you play a game and then you forever associate that game with that
Right.
when you were ill. Sometimes it's like, oh, sometimes it's like, alright.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying.
Yeah, that was a cozy time. That got me through some crappy.
Yeah, like I have fond memories about
sickness.
Animal Crossing and that early chunk of the pandemic, but also new things came out, and one, I'm not in the mood for that type of game generally, but also because I have that association, even though it was my like warm blanket of escapism, it's still my warm blanket of escapism I used specifically when I was trapped in a house.
Yeah, it can go both ways. You can have fond memories of it, or you can have like the complete opposite. I don't want to touch that thing ever again. Kind of.
So why don't you tell me about a game that you've been playing?
I played Escape Simulator. No, not Escape Simulator. I've Escape Academy.
Yeah, I was gonna say the Game Pass game, right?
Mm-hmm.
I downloaded it. It was gonna be one of the games that I was gonna play on my week off of while I had COVID, and then I installed it.
It's a good one because it's very. It just gets the brain working just a little bit. It's not really too challenging. Like,
could you give a quick rundown for our viewers who might not?
Yeah. It's basically, imagine you're in an escape room. There are tons of these games, like sort of on mobile and stuff like that, escape the room kind of thing. I mentioned Escape Simulator, which is a game on Steam that I have. It's a similar kind of deal. The better thing about that is that it's got community-made levels, so it's like...
Oh, it keeps going? Yeah.
Yeah, like, one I just jumped into on Escape Simulator was someone like made a Stargate escape room, and it's like got to open the Stargate. But anyway, Escape Academy it's an Urset's version of an escape room. Obviously, in video game form, you can get away with different things. Like there's a level where there's like every level has a timer, and in this one, the timer is literally like water rising up through the floor, and it's like, okay, you couldn't do that in a practical setting because things would get wet and people may drown. But in a video game, it's all practical, so the things are a little bit more bombastic than just a typical like escape room. Which, admittedly, I've never done in my life because screw working with people. You can.
I've done a couple, and yes, I agree.
Yeah, not my idea of fun. You can play this with a partner in co-op, but I just enjoyed it. Like, put on a podcast, chilled out, played it because, as I say, you don't really need to use your brain a lot. A lot of the puzzles are obviously the answers within the room, and it doesn't require too much outside knowledge or outside thought. It's everything's at your disposal in the rooms. But I think there's 10 levels, and I probably got through it in about 5 hours. There wasn't any levels that I needed to repeat apart from one because I was putting in a code, and I was like, this is the only thing that it can be. But what I realised is that the curse of the hitbox on like one of the things that you had to press was quite wide, and it kept putting in the wrong number, and it was like, oh, that's why, and I had to redo that. But otherwise, it's like, yeah, I didn't have to redo any of them, so the timers were generous. it's one of those where it's like it's not taxing, it's not asking a lot from you. It's not meant to be hard. It's meant to be just the right amount of challenge where you can put on a podcast or something like that, or you can have fun with the co-op partner and not kill them because someone's just not getting part of the puzzle and it's like, oh, okay, let me help you, you idiot, or something like that.
Right.
It's breezy, and I think there's more levels coming. Maybe
really?
It might be paid. I think there's some paid DLC. I think there's a free update. Not sure what that is, but more levels are coming. It does very much seem like something that could be expanded on as like a, with long content, like in the terms of like say a Hitman game or something. Like they got the structure, they got the framework for it, and then can just add on different levels as it goes. That seems like a really good format for it in like small little puzzle box rooms.
Yeah, it has a narrative wrapping though, right? Like
you're basically in the Hogwarts version of Escape Academy, Escape Room, Artists, or whatever it is.
Is it? So I'm guessing that. So just based on the fact that you sort of said that with a scoff, I'm guessing it's not like super narratively dense.
No,
which is good. I wouldn't want that.
It's that's all it is, a narrative wrapping. It's not full of lore and everything, and it's like
you're not the chosen escape artist whose parents died because he shall not be escaped from fucking something transphobic.
Yeah, it's not that. It's just given a as you say, a slight wrapping to why else would I be going through all these different escape rooms. It's a nice amount of. It never gets in the way of the puzzles, but it's a nice, as you say, wrapping, because Escape Simulator, for example, is just you're going level by level, and it's nice that they've actually put some, some context and so something in between the puzzle rooms. But it's not nobody's getting Pulitzer Prize for it or anything like that. It's like just a nice level of narrative wrapping. But
well, that sounds great.
It's good. I really enjoyed it. Don't know if I'd pay for extra levels, but I'd certainly check them out if any of them come for free, or just pick up a DLC.
I mean, you also got this on Game Pass.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, and Game Pass, sometimes, I mean, DLC's not included. Sometimes you have to buy that in addition to the game. It just depends, so I'm not sure what they're going for with this. But yeah, I fully recommend it for anyone who just wants to chill out and do a few puzzles that are quite, they're sensible. They're not obtuse or anything like that, so yeah.
That sounds great to me.
Yeah, check it out. Play it on Steam Deck as well. It's ran perfectly.
So
cloud.
Last time we talked about Steam Deck, did you set up Game Pass and stuff, or?
Oh yeah. That was like one of the first things I did.
Yeah,
I think I played more Game Pass games on my Steam Deck.
Yeah, I could remember.
Steam games. Yeah.
Oh right, that was the Microsoft literally made a tutorial on their website how to do it.
Yeah, it's worked seamlessly because I've been playing a lot of Powerwash Simulator on that, but I think we should speak about that.
About that. That's a thing I could have handled as a.
Oh god, yeah, it's. Adam was right. It is crack cocaine, the game. Yeah, I mean, go back to episode whatever. With Adam, our game of the year. Well, his game of the year kind of rundown, and that was number 1, and I can see why, because it is.
Oh wow! I didn't realize it was that long.
What's that?
So I just went to How Long to Beat.
Powerwash Simulator.
Yeah, and its main story is 21.5 hours. Made an extra 34.5. Completion is 37.5. That's a lot of content.
Some of those levels take hours. Like, I've spent probably 5 hours, doing some of those levels. It's real good, man. it's like that is the perfect podcast game, or that is the perfect. I just want to sit in silence. I don't even need a podcast game because I am transfixed and hypnotized by these power washes.
I mean, that sounds great.
It's very good. Experience it for yourself, but don't really need to go into that more. It's what it says on the box. You know, it's a Powerwash Simulator, and it's one of those where it's like this will either bore you to tears or you will just reach a higher level of zen than you've ever reached before in your entire life, and I'm in the latter camp. So there's just one more game I want to talk about. Very early on, so I'll probably come talk about this next week. It's a game where you play an animal. Not quite a feline. I guess it's like a cat dog. It's a dog-like cat. And it's not cat dog. I'm not playing that. What is it? That Nickelodeon brawler or whatever. I'm playing a game called Endling. Extinction is Forever. Which is
I have not heard of this.
It's a game about foxes. The cats of the dog world, or the dogs of the cat world.
I'll give you that. Endling Extinction is Forever. What is with... Fox games are pretty fun.
I know, yeah, there's been a lot recently. I think we're now moving from Fox games into Frog games, though.
We definitely... I mean, we've been... There was a parallel time, right? It wasn't like a switch. But I do think you're right that the Frog games are overtaking. They're hopping forward.
Yes. But this may be the last hurrah of the Fox game. Who knows? But
I really like the style.
Yeah, the art is fantastic. And okay, I've only played a bit of the game, but so far I'm playing as a mother fox, and the game starts out. It's very close to home, especially now, because it starts out and you're literally running away from a forest fire. That's the first couple minutes of the game, and it's like, I mean, the title is Extinction is Forever. It's about, deforestation, climate change, that's what it's going to be about, and it's like, oh, I played this as when, on the news, it looked like, you see pictures, and it's like, is this Australia? Is this America? It's like, no, this is the UK now as well. It's like,
it's everywhere.
Very close to home. Yeah, very close. We should maybe do something about it, but, yeah, so the game starts out with that, and I guess you'd call it a side-scrolling platformer, but what I really like about it, even though it's like 2D and you're going from you're going in a left to right direction, but it's got 3D environments and it's got a really nice depth of field, and it's like you're going from, even when you go from left to right, you're going further into the background or further into the foreground, and it's got it's got a really interesting presentation style in that sense, because a lot of games, they're just, maybe they have some 3D assets or something, but you're just literally going on a 2D plane, whereas this, you're going a bit more, a bit more into the background, a bit more into the foreground.
So is it that each screen has a different sort of angle that you
traverse?
Yeah. So you're still kind of pathing point to point, but absolutely, you just path deeper or shallower depending on the... Yeah. Oh, that's a really nice touch to 2D side scrolling. That's so smart. I can't believe I haven't seen that before.
I know. I was thinking that because I was like, not many games do this. I've probably seen one or two, and it's it's such a easy. Well, obviously not easy. Nothing.
I mean, with modern engines, if you're gonna do using a 3D engine and then for a 2D thing is very standard, and then you have all kinds of resources. Yeah. Yeah,
it just seems like a very something. Why hasn't it been implemented more often or more? It just feels more alive and brings the environments out in just more of a more fleshed out way. But I've given birth to my little kits. Baby foxes. Yeah. My little babies.
So you're a vixen.
Yes. So as soon as you give birth, it's like, okay, you can choose the what colouring your kits have, and it's like, oh my god, they're gonna make me attached to these little kits, and they're all gonna die, aren't they? So I'm not looking forward to that. But yeah, so far it's been about being Mother Vixen, catching food and then skulking around and making sure you don't get caught or seen because there's naughty hunters in the woods and other animals and stuff like that. And I've been enjoying it. It's not taxing in it's not taxing so far. It's a pretty standard puzzle platformer, but I think the presentation and probably the story by the end is going to be what's most effective about it. But yeah, I'm enjoying it, so I'm gonna keep going on with that. I think it's probably about 4 or 5 hours. So
I was gonna say
get through
the name definitely suggests that it's not gonna pull any punches.
Yeah, there's probably gonna be a Bambi moment, and I'm not ready for that. So,
yeah, it looks like it's about 4.5 hours.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, it's my kind of game. I love these puzzle platformers, whether they're very puzzle element or kind of like this more chilled out narrative style. And yeah, it's definitely my kind of game. So thank you to the Evolve for sending me a code for that. But yeah,
excellent. Yeah,
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, this seems very poignant for this particular.
Yeah. That's why it's like I didn't get too far with it. I probably played half an hour or something, if that, and it's like, yeah. Am I emotionally ready for this? After I picked the kits, I was like, okay, I'll go a bit longer, but I'm not getting too far into this because it's going to be rough. But yeah, that's what I've been playing. We're probably going to talk about Stray next week, maybe when Ben's back. But yeah, no cat game this week. Just a Fox game. But
yeah. I mean, cat game will happen.
Yeah.
You bought it, right?
Yeah. Apparently it doesn't run as well as you'd like on Steam Deck, so until you toggle with some settings, but that's fine. I was thinking I would like it looks so pretty, I'd probably just opt to play it on my normal PC anyway, or just maybe switch between, but I was definitely going to start it on my main PC just to see how pretty it is.
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy that my 2000 series RTX graphics card is still good enough to put it all on high.
Yeah.
Because it looks so pretty, and that's all I want, right? Yeah,
because that's what I love about Steam Deck as well. It's just so seamless how you can just switch in between. Because, I was playing some Neon White on my main computer, but I was like, actually, this is a bit too much for my motion sickness when I have it on such a big screen on a small screen.
Fair enough.
It's way better. Same with Powerwash Simulator as well.
It got your motion sickness.
Yeah, it's because there's no way to change the size of the reticle or anything, and I usually put the aim sensitivity way down on stuff, but yeah, my motion sickness is bad and it's not fun at all. So
yeah, that's fair. I just I mean, it's always about the presentation, right? Because you can have I've seen you play Titanfall 2 and zip around the screen and be super agile and be fine, and then it's just
with games like that, because you can see your gun.
Oh, it's something
it's fine, it's point of reference, yeah. So it's I've never. Plus, those games are always 60, so that helps.
Right.
So yeah, Call of Duty and Titanfall never got to me in that way. But yeah, Neon White is I don't feel any sort of sickness when I'm playing it on Steam Deck, but I've got I think it's 27-inch screen monitor, so just seeing that and on the big screen,
it's enough.
It takes a bit longer to kick in, but when it kicks in, you're just
yeah, I am now done.
Yeah, it's time to lie down. But yeah, it's rubbish.
Yeah, I don't envy you at all.
Yeah, it's crap. It's like just watching other people play things, like say watching GDQ stream. It's like I'd really like to see someone play Doom very quickly, but I just can't.
And is that because you don't have agency over it? Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know where they're going or what they're doing.
Yeah, that does suck. Ugh.
Yes, it does. But it's just one of those things. Adapt. Yeah, and that's why options are good. I can play on the Steam Deck. So good times.
How much further in Neon White have you gotten?
I'm literally on the last level. Because I was like, I'm going to get Neon White done and go back to Endling. I played a few more levels today, and I'm at the end of the story, which continues to be ass. The characters continue to be irredeemable and just awful. But the levels towards the end, you get a really cool mechanic, which I won't spoil, but the levels get longer, and some of them do. Some of them, still retain that like kind of very zippy, short kind of framework to them. Yeah, and those are the levels I really like, where it's like I can fine tune and just focus on doing the small things right to get a quicker time. The things where it's like, okay, this level is like 2 minutes long, and it's like, if I mess up once, that's it. This is why I could never be a speedrunner.
Yeah, that's exactly what turns me off on games like that.
Yeah.
Like I remember, what is the really, why am I forgetting the name of this game? Really violent and bloody 2D platformer from years ago where you're a little red dude and there's saws, and it's very much
Super Meat Boy?
Yeah, Meat Boy. There we go. Yeah. And I loved that game.
Yeah.
And played so much of it until a certain point in the game, and the levels just got to a point where it was like, I just don't want to do this much.
Yeah.
Like I'm fine with repeating myself. I don't want to repeat the stuff that I've figured out.
Yes, yeah.
At this length, like there's like an envelope where it's like, we're out of here.
Yeah, just a
and
bit
I
too
am
long.
not. There's not enough enjoyment, and because of that, I'm not. It ruins my focus. Ironically, on the bit that I'm trying to actually master, and so I don't do it well because I'm already kind of annoyed that I'm having to redo the thing, and it's like, my brain is just not really wired well for that type of loop on that medium scale.
It's a fine line where it's like there's no definitive like time length, or it can differ game to game or scenario to scenario or level to level. But yeah, some of the levels are a bit long, and it's like some of them are cool because it's like this is a culmination of everything that I learned, and it's like, look where I am now. But it's like I'm already good at the game. I just want to focus on getting high scores, and it's like I don't want to do that on the long levels. So the last couple of levels, I've just been like, I've got an ace medal, which is the highest before dev time, which I still haven't unlocked or seen yet because I haven't finished the game. I've gotten all the gifts and stuff like that, so I should unlock the quote-unquote true ending. Whoever cares about that, I really don't care about the story, but it's like, I'll roll credits tonight, and then I can just put this
to bed.
Ugly part of my soul to bed. It's like I play one level for like an hour to get the highest time as the people that I added on Steam. But there's one person.
I was going to ask. So how many people on your Steam list? You mentioned you had added people just to have sort of that competitive feeling because the usual suspects weren't playing it.
Yeah. Probably about 10 people. And there's one who I'm going to assume is just cheating. So because some of those times are like, you're either very good or you could be cheating. They're probably just very good, but I find it better in my head that they're cheating, so.
Mm.
But yeah,
Like
it's
they're beating you by like a factor
like
of 2
15
kind of thing?
seconds or something.
Oh.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. And but yeah, it's one of those where it's like, yeah, I might maybe play some levels just for fun, because some of them are just. I don't know if there's like a sort of like a boss rush mode where you can just go through the levels and that's it. But that would be cool. But yeah, I still recommend it whenever you pick it up. I'm sure you'll enjoy it a lot. So
I actually did pick it up. I ended up picking it and Stray up together just because I knew I was gonna play both of them in the next little stretch.
It's a good duo, I think.
Yeah, that was the other thing. Is it felt very much like, well, like from the reviews on Stray and from what you've told me and other people told me about Neon and White, is they scratch very different itches. So it would be like good, a good way to bounce around.
Yeah, well, good decision. But yeah, I think you'll really enjoy it. Really enjoy it.
That's just because there's cards.
Yeah, I guess there are. I guess they.
I mean, they could be anything from what I understand, right?
Yeah. Hold on, I think I'm better than every one of my friends this thing, because I remembered I'm not playing mouse and keyboard and playing on Steam Deck, so I'm pretty good. And when you start, even though I don't think you'll quite be as obsessed as I am,
yeah,
that might spur me to go back to the game, because it's like, I've already embarrassed the deal. Can I embarrass him even more? Play another 0.2 seconds.
Yeah, I mean, I will fully admit that I don't care enough.
Yeah.
My obsessiveness with video games used to be completionist stuff, which is why I wouldn't start really long games, and also wouldn't play the better versions in series, because I should have finished the earlier ones, except the early ones sucked. And so, like, Assassin's Creed was a series I enjoyed, but didn't quite get through all of the Ezio stuff, and then, so I never played Black Flag, and everyone's like, oh, it's great. And it's like, and now I don't care, and Ubisoft can burn. So, different reasons. But, that really did stop me, and now I'm very proud of myself as having grown as a human to just not care about those things, but that also means if I catch myself getting a whiff of that sort of obsessive, optimize, it's like, nah, that's just going to make you, me personally, miss some of the just regular enjoyment, and I don't really want to do that trade-off.
Yeah.
At least at this point in my mental health journey in my life and my relationship with video games.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I used to be like, every game I start, I have to finish it, and it's like, had my backlog on an Excel spreadsheet, and it's just like, one day I was just like, let it all go.
Yeah.
And that was several years ago, and it's like, now I like to finish games, like, especially when I'm enjoying them. I feel bad when I haven't finished a game. Well, not bad, but it's like...
Yeah.
It comes up in your mind, and it's like, oh, I should finish that game, but it's like, not obsessive about it or anything like that. It's like...
Well,
like, Freshly Frosted, I keep thinking about that game, and it's bothering me now, because I love it so much, but it's like, I got to the point where it's like, that was my brain, my inner workings of that game, and now I'm on the hard levels, and I was like, being stubborn. It's like, I don't want to use a hint, but you know what, I'm just going to use a hint now, because it's like, it's been a while away from it, and I'm never going to finish it otherwise, and it's like, some of the rubbish. I don't want to spend... I've spent hours on some of those levels when I was in that mindset, and...
I mean, I've also evolved with hints where it's like, yeah, I'm stubborn and I don't want to use them, but what really clicked in my head was stop seeing it as a binary flag of did you use a hint or not, versus use the hint, and then if you regret it, you're like, I didn't need to use a hint there. Now I know for the next time I'm in a similar situation, maybe I'll let myself stew a bit longer. That's it. That's what you've done. You've used a hint once. It's fine.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it's just fine.
Yeah. Well, except on Escape Academy, when I accidentally clicked the hint button, because I was playing on Steam Deck via xCloud or whatever, and it's like, why is to like that's another good thing about Escape Academy actually. Things that you pick up that I got like notes and stuff like that, you can pin it, so it's like always on your screen. So it's like, oh, what's that code again? Oh, I can pin that piece of paper.
Oh, that's very smart. And that's better. That makes you better than most of the people I've ever had to escape room with.
But that's really nice touch, really nice quality of life thing on it. But yeah, the X button is hint and the Y button is pin. So it's like at the very start of the game in like one of the first levels, I accidentally pressed hint, and it's like, well, got to start this over again.
I mean, that's fair.
I want my 5 stars or whatever.
Oh, because you get downgraded grades. If you
I don't know, but it's like I didn't want to chance it. To be fair, it was like the first level or the tutorial or something, so it wasn't too bad. So I only had to redo 5 minutes. So.
Yeah,
yeah. Get better about obsessive habits. That's the moral of the story.
Yeah, remember that you have only so much time in the world, and it's okay to love a game and not finish it or come back to it. And arguably, it's better to leave it there. Because then you have a very solid, happy time with it, and you're not going... Yeah. Basically, are you going back to a game or an activity or a book or a movie or whatever out of some feeling of obligation, or because you're really enthused to return to it? And if you can answer enthused, do it. If not, maybe take a second and think, is this the thing that will give me the most happiness because the world is burning? It's literally burning, and we're probably not going to survive. So don't waste the limited mental cycles you have on the planet on a thing that you don't really want to do right now, but you feel like you should.
Agreed. If you're not enjoying the game, just put it down and don't go back to it.
Yeah, and if you hate a game, it's fine because it won't last because the world isn't going to either.
Yeah. Just accept that you're never ever going to finish Elden Ring before you die. I've accepted it.
I was going to mention Elden Ring as the game that I want to go back to, but don't know when, and I'm okay with that. And I wasn't okay with that for a bit. Like, after my initial, like, surge of, like, hyper-focus, playing it too much, took some time, played other games, and then I was like, oh, I really want to go back to it. Now I'm feeling the weight of how much is left now that I know, because obviously you learn more about the game, zeitgeist, but also, just this feeling of needing to do it made me not want to do it. And it's like, it's fine. Like, I've played enough of it. I can tell you it's a great game. I can tell you that I'm missing out on stuff. I can tell you I'm fine with missing out on that stuff. And that opinion might change. Like,
yeah, absolutely. Like, the 120 hours or whatever it is I spent in it, it's like, loved every minute. It's still like my game of the year, so, and it's like I don't need to finish it. Maybe if I never play that game for the rest of my life, it's like, that game does so many things that it's like, this is one of the best games ever made.
But I think, like, maybe it's because I'm cresting towards 40, but I can't do all the things. Like, I'm finally, for those who don't know, I got recently diagnosed with ADHD, and it turns out poor tracking of time on the macro and micro level is a symptom that I definitely have, and I've been paying attention pre and post medication to just like how much time is actually in a day and what can I actually do, and it's like, oh, there's not a lot of time. I can't play all the games that are great. I can't read all the books that are great. I can't have all the conversations I want with people. Okay, well, let's not worry about me having a fantastic time with Elden Ring. That sounds great. Cool. If I never touch the game again, that's great. It's still great. It hasn't stopped being great.
Yep. Absolutely. Yeah. It's just not enough hours in the day, and as you say, like stuff like, especially Game Pass now, it's like so many games that are available. I won't get to them all. Do I need to? Nah.
I mean, that's the great thing about Game Pass is if I play one game a month, even if I don't, but if I play one game a month on Game Pass, it's kind of paid for itself because I've had the selection, the options, and I've chosen one. And I I think I've bought Elden Ring, Stray, and Neon White this year. This is a guy who has 1,200 plus games on Steam. Like, I used to have a problem. And now Game Pass is meant Game Pass and like review codes, and trying to be better at life, have all contributed to it's fine. Like, I don't need that many games in my life. And actually, there are games I have, not even backlog games that I haven't started, but games like I played, like Gordian Quest. I really enjoyed that. And actually not just picking up the Zeitgeist games or being like, oh, this is new on Game Pass, I'll just download it, means that I'm more likely to play that game again if I just want a thing that I know its mechanics. I can just like pick it up for a half hour. It's a good game for that. Yeah. I've thought about it a couple times the past couple days. Various reasons why I didn't play games, but that would have been one of them. Easy.
Zeitgeist is not even a thing. I think Stray is probably, you're right, yeah. I think it's the only game I've really paid for this year. Oh no, I did spend £25 on Elden Ring. So
yeah, I bought Elden Ring because, I mean, that was an 100% a Zeitgeist buy. Stray is 100% a Zeitgeist buy, except also I've been following it since forever, and I'm okay with being just like everyone else, being like, Cat Game is going to be great. And then when I heard Cat Game was great, it's like, all right, I'll buy Cat Game.
Yeah. Yeah, same. But, yeah, I think we're just both in that point of our lives where it's like, who cares?
Yeah.
It's just like,
I mean,
even if I never play the Cat Game after buying it, it's just like, oh well.
Yeah, 20 quid is a lot better than previous, like games that I still haven't played that I put money into because I felt like I should or whatever. You know, just it's a hobby. It's part of the hobby is spending money. I just am getting better at how much I spend.
It's very easy not to now with all these services and spend a lot of money, because the good thing about Game Pass is, like, if I didn't play it whilst it's in Game Pass, then that's okay. It just means that I probably wasn't excited enough to actually buy it, you know. So, and if I do feel like very excited to buy it, then I'll just buy it. Like, 5 years down
I was
the
gonna
line
say, I think the big thing
cheap.
is Game Pass. Also, it's like, oh, so many things come to Game Pass. Just the fact that it might come to Game Pass in like January or October from like now, it's like, oh, then I think, do I have the time to play it? Do I need to play it right away? Is it like that? Just that option of it might just come to the thing that sort of fuels, just gives me games every once in a while. It's actually what Humble Bundle Monthly was doing for me for a while. That's when I stopped buying games, because a lot of like zeitgeisty or like AA games that were interesting just came through Humble Bundle Monthly, which no longer happens. That service isn't great. But like that was the beginning of the end for me buying games regularly, because it was like, oh, it might just come to the subscription I have.
Yeah, that's what I always think.
By the time it did, it would be like, oh, I didn't actually just the idea that I might get it if I just waited, even though it's the same as if I just wait, I can get it for half price on PC.
Yeah.
Something about that shift of it might just come to me meant that like I'd be okay with not getting it right away. And as soon as that like mental shift happened, it was like, oh, well, yeah. Even if it doesn't come to Game Pass, if I'm still thinking about that game in 6 months and I haven't heard it's terrible, I've heard it's still pretty good, I'll get it for 10 quid.
That's what I always think. It's coming to Game Pass one day, so I'll just wait.
Yeah.
It's going to be...
And there's definitely, like...
on Steam.
There's definitely games that I've missed out on that were good, that didn't come to Game Pass, that I've forgotten about because, you know, there's only so many hours in the day, as we spoke of. But that's also okay.
Yeah. This is just basically our therapy session.
Yeah, this is like Reformed Game Addicts Anonymous. Less anonymous. Decidedly non-anonymous. Hi, I'm Aadil, this is Lucy.
We have a problem.
Yeah. We had a problem. No, I don't have a problem.
No,
I did. So
didn't give it
there's
away.
been a topic that we've had on the books for a long time that, for various reasons, hasn't come through. But I think, basically, I wanted to make sure you were around because you've played both Tunic and Elden Ring.
Uh-huh.
And I've played a chunk of Elden Ring and a smaller chunk of Tunic. But basically, I just wanted to talk about how sort of navigation, uh, tracking navigation, for lack of a better term, like maps essentially, right?
Mm-hmm.
Can be done in these types of games, and how it feels like this year between Elden Ring and Tunic, we've hit a point where some developers have like finally realized that they don't have to treat us like babies. And so I'll contrast this with the standard open world game is your GTA, Ubisoft, especially Ubisoft.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
You get the like you got an open world, you could do anything, but
Yeah.
also here's a million icons that are the things you can do. And
Yeah.
I didn't realize until I started really exploring in Elden Ring how much I've been annoyed at that, as because it's been the default. I didn't even realize like how much of a
Yeah.
drag on what I like about open worlds it was until I saw something not do it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, no, I'm glad you clarified there, because I thought you were talking about maybe the tutorialization of Elden Ring, which a lot of people have, you know, criticized and stuff like that. But I get what you mean, like, in terms of, like, design philosophies, like, you don't have to tell the player,
Basically,
put a quest marker here, go talk to this person, do that, but have enough uh, competency and confidence in your design where it's like, you know, let the player have the agency to go where they want, do what they want. But yeah, I think a lot of the times it is a design philosophy right out the gate. Because I think, in the case of you, maybe one would argue, oh, From Software games are quote unquote niche, whereas Ubisoft games are, you know,
I
for the
mean,
masses. But I mean, Elden Ring and the previous From Software games have disproved that because they sell a lot, and Elden Ring's the biggest selling game of this year. So it's not a case of one's marketed towards a mass audience and the other isn't. It's just complete design philosophies, whereas Ubisoft games seem like designed by committee and just a tick box
well,
exercise.
I was gonna
Whereas
say
Elden Ring's
that
something else.
like uh, let's just stay with Ubisoft for a while because I think part
Mhm.
of the problem of the design by committee thing that you were mentioning is the fact that it's like that coupled with the perils of success writ 15
Mm.
years, right? So they came up with something that was unique and interesting, uh like open world, like Assassin's Creed, early Assassin's Creed games. The idea of it was open world, but it was quite small.
Mhm.
And obviously the AI and the like depth of resolution on your mini map wasn't really there. I mean, arguably, you could have been because we'll get to it when we talk about Elden Ring's change from this model. But it made sense. Open world was new. How could I can see the mindset, and I think gamers probably weren't ready for what I have to explore and find all the things because I'm used to being on. If you think of a population who's used to being on a pathway, and yes, there's secrets because you have to find out that the pathway branches here or there, giving them like a flat piece of land that they can just go any direction, giving them ear markers makes sense because what they're used to. Um, and then the idea of, well, I don't want to just tell them all the things, so I'll tell them one thing, and if they do that thing, like they have the option of just running around and finding things or going to this one place, the tower, the eagle, the whatever the fuck thing they have that unlocks all the icons, right? And so in the first, if you didn't know that was going to give you everything, you might not do it. So I see. I think that's why I enjoyed it, like the first couple Assassin's Creed games, because I wasn't used to the paradigm. But the fact that everything gets unlocked for this square, and then you're like, oh, now, and I know because you've already told me. You show me the icon of the next tower. There's no exploration. If I at least had to look for the towers, like, and then they unlocked icons, at least there'd be some notion of it. But it's like, why would I waste my time
I don't
exploring
know.
if you're gonna get, if the information is 100% by doing this thing?
Yeah.
Gamers are efficiency like robots essentially. We're always gonna take the path of least resistance, and that just undoes the magic of the open world. And that was okay when the open world was novel. I'm not saying it was great. I'm saying I wasn't as annoyed with it back in the day.
I just think I don't think that's a time frame thing, like something that was. I just think that's just a philosophy of their design and just a design of like certain types of video games. Like look at Spider-Man. Like I really enjoy that game, but the open world was, it was trite. It was like just it was the same Ubisoft problem of just like icons here, icons there. You're doing the exact same thing, and it's like sometimes it's in terms of budget, copy and paste kind of design thing where it's like you don't have the budget to make new animations or do new quests or something like that. And I don't think that's. I mean, we're using Ubisoft as the main culprit. They're not alone in it, and I just think it's just a completely different type of design because there were open worlds prior to Ubisoft's open world. There was like Rockstar Games, but Rockstar Games is like. It was more of a sandbox, and it's more like, tons of Rockstar games had different landmarks and different areas of the map which you could go to, but never had a quest line there.
Yeah.
And it's like, we don't care if the player sees this or not, was their philosophy back then, I remember the Easter egg in, like, GTA 3, was it, or something, when you climbed over a certain wall, and it's like, no one has to do this, you, like, drive an ambulance there and hop over it, and it's like, you get to this place and it says, you're not supposed to be here. And it's like, the devs put that in, and it's a case of making the world interesting so the player feels compelled to go through it, whereas Ubisoft could do that. They don't need all the icons. If they made those games and those worlds interesting and dynamic and, crazy things happen just like in GTA, usually in Far Cry it's Far Cry. Usually things colliding against each other because there's a bug or something, not quite, the interconnection of the world. It's like...
I mean, this I guess this is the problem also with the formulas of things like Far Cry, where, you're changing the settings, but it's the same premise, which is go to tower so you get to see the necessary things so that you can slowly snipe off people at a base and take it over. And it doesn't matter where in the world or in time that base is, they're all enemies who you need to kill. And so you don't get that you can't get that living world. What you can get is throwaway lines of dialogue and maybe some weird walking animations, and then two people bump together and hopefully the dialogue syncs up, and maybe it doesn't. But that's again that design philosophy of it's like from the base, a Far Cry game is never going to have that lived-in world feel because it's kind of premised on protagonist antagonists. And then with GTA, the premise is, here's a world. You might piss some people off. Most of these people are just in the world. And just by that, it means I'm more likely to wander around because I want to see the world, because the world is premised on being something that I am sort of orthogonal to.
Yeah.
And if you just make it a bunch of enemies, it's really hard to make the world feel lived in and interesting and worth exploring. But also, if you don't trust... But I still think that you can have the Far Cry, it's all bad guys and, wild animals or whatever. You could have that and not have the HUD tell you all the things, and then you would have to explore kind of with a fine-tooth comb to get all the things.
Yeah.
which
But
would be more
don't think
interesting to
that's.
me.
I don't think it would be, because I don't think that game is. It's not predicated on being interesting.
Yeah, I
It's
guess.
like, okay, you find a treasure chest that wasn't on the map. What does a treasure chest have? Purple
You're
loot
right. Yeah.
to just kill more enemies. I mean, all Far Cry
Yeah.
is a 3D, well, not 3D, but like open world Call of Duty game. It's just surface level story.
Yeah.
You know, just to keep the action going.
You're right.
You
Like,
know,
if I had to explore, I'd get bored, and I would just try and miss things. So the HUD would be
the worlds
better.
are not dynamic or anything like that. But I get what you're saying in a sense that it's like that. You know, games like Elden Ring and like Breath of the Wild seem so out of the ordinary now because we only get like one Rockstar game, you know, every decade. But, you know, open world games with, you know, even like GTA clones like Saints Row or True Crime or something, they were still more interesting. You know, maybe you're right in saying like it was something new. Why, you know, maybe the bar was a bit lower, but I just think, you know,
I think it gives them an excuse for the first couple games, but the fact that there's been no iteration, and it's even worse when you make the world bigger and still stale.
Yes, and that's all that Ubisoft have been doing. It's like,
but let's switch to. I'll talk a bit about Elden Ring,
right.
and then maybe you can finish us off with Tunic, because you know a little more about how its navigation and its approach to pointing, hinting, nudging the user. With Elden Ring, you've got some icons.
Mm-hmm.
Essentially, just your bonfires or whatever they're called. It's been a minute.
Touches of grace or something.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And that's about it. But the thing that really got to me was, well, one, like there's so little that needs to be done to progress the game, except leveling helps you beat harder bosses, and so finding the early dungeons means you're more likely to succeed because they're the early dungeons, which means you're more likely to be able to beat the later dungeons. So there is a path to the game as far as like least resistance, but if you don't use any guides, which I fully recommend, you sort of are like, what the fuck do I do? Because the main path is getting me into some real trouble. Now, I'm not ready for that trouble. Let me just wander away, and at the very least, I can pick off easy enemies, and if I have to grind while trying to figure out what this game is in the first 5 hours, that's okay too, which I really like, because you don't feel like you're grinding, because you're also learning the game. It's a good point to, if you don't find the right places, you'll probably be okay, and you won't feel terrible about it. But as you play the game, you notice that, like, oh, I found a dungeon, and it's in this cave entrance, and on the map, the map that looks like a drawn map from that era, if that makes sense, right? You notice that there are specific details on the map that are similar over here, and you go over there, and lo and behold, there's a dungeon there, and now you've learned that the map does tell you where a certain percentage of the dungeons are, at least the ones that are from the grasslands into a cave in a mountain range. They all look very similar, or at least you know that the odds are pretty high that there's might be one in this area, so I can go to that area, an area that looks like this, and then like hunt through the mountain range and find a cave, or maybe not. It's not always the case, but you know where to look. And the more you spend with the game, the more of these sort of notes, details on the map kind of become apparent. You also get a better understanding of how like height works. The map is actually quite good with the map is actually quite good at that, but you don't understand it until you navigate yourself through the world, and you learn how the map works. And yet none of this is by adding icons, right? This is literally the same map you get at the beginning. I mean, obviously you unlock pieces, but the same type of details. It's not layering a HUD on top. It's just, here is, you pick up map fragments and you get a new chunk, and it's like, and if anything looks sort of somewhat out of the ordinary, you can just go, because because that's how you learn how to get through the world and spot.
Right.
You get a new map fragment, and you're like, I don't know what that's a weird chunk of drawn map. Let me go there to see what it actually is. And I think a large part of my exploration in that game was getting a new map fragment and being like, I don't know what this means. I don't know how to interpret the map. Let me go there and learn. And then lo and behold, there's something interesting there. And then I unlock a new map fragment, even like 5 hours later, and there's a similar bit there. I'm like, I now know what that's going to be like.
That's interesting, because I never, interpreted or paid that much attention to the map playing it. It's like, when I got a new map fragment, it's like, I was like charting, like, okay, I've been here, I've been there. I wasn't like looking too detailed at the map. I was in some cases. It's like, have I been to that like peninsula or whatever in that case? But it's like, I wasn't looking at the typography and a lot of the details on the map. I was just more, okay, where haven't I been? Because what draws me through that game is not necessarily the map, because I've been to places and it's like, I don't know where the map fragment is. This isn't filled in for the map for me. I don't care, because it's like I've stumbled on a new place, and it's like I'm just going to stay here and go forward and see what's here, because what draws me to that game is just seeing what effed up thing will kill me next. That's
right.
That's where I get enjoyment out of that game. So it's like it's just a complete. I mean, I know the systems in Elden Ring. It's not like GTA where it's like I'm gonna go to somewhere and the mechanics are going to change and I can like bet on horses or something like that. It's not. I'm not looking for that or any different kinds of ways in the mechanics which will be used. I know what that game is. It's combat. Yeah. I'm more drawn to that game because what am I going to find? I don't even care about the loot in the dungeons. It's like I open up the treasure chest. It's like none of this applies to my build. I'm never going to use it. I don't care. It's a case of what? How have they designed this dungeon to absolutely destroy me? What effed up things have the developer done just to be like, screw you? What have they put around this corner just to absolutely annihilate me next? That's what draws me to that game. Like, it's the endless possibility of the creatures. Well,
I mean, that's fair. I will say there is in the non-discovered space, there's an icon that shows you exactly where the map fragments are.
In the what?
Like, so when before you have the map fragment, it's just this like brown stretch which has some light roads on it sometimes.
Oh yeah.
And then there is a little thing that looks kind of like a lighthouse, and that's where you get the map fragment.
Oh really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. And because I was like, where's the map fragment for this place? I've been on this road and the road breaks up and I don't have any idea where it is. It's just like, I'll find it eventually.
I mean, fair enough. I guess, yeah. So that's really interesting, because I think that's what drives my exploration, is I think my like completionist brain, this is also why it took me forever to get to like the second main boss, because my completionist brain has learned some of these things. So I'm like, let me go there. Yep, found a dungeon. Gotta beat that dungeon before I keep going. Oh, what's over here? And so,
I do that, but it's like less dependent on like if I just stumble across.
Yeah, so I was gonna say, I think the key is now that I know kind of how the map is communicating to me, I'm a bit OCD in like trying to fine tooth comb the game, which again I'm fine with, because I don't think this is a game, like I've never really been a New Game Plus person, and so I'm fine with taking my sweet ass time to get through it. But this is what enables me to feel like I'm doing that not completely randomly, and also gives me like some hope about like taking a long break and coming back, because it's not like,
Mm-hmm.
oh shit,
Mm-hmm.
have I been here before? If I had to just rely on my memories of like where I've
Yeah,
been.
yeah. That's the thing. When I mean, we've spoken about it before. When you're just being teleported to absolutely different place on the map,
Oh yeah,
and it's like
so
sometimes
disorientating.
without you wanting to do that, and it's like I've just accepted it's like this map is so huge and vast beyond my even understanding. So it's like if I end up like I'm in places where it's like I still haven't killed a dragon yet, and it's like in like the opening.
Not even the first
Places.
guy. That guy's so much
No,
fun.
if you play a magic build like you probably did, then
I
maybe
killed
it
him
is,
with
but
a two-handed sword user.
whatever. Maybe you're just better.
To be fair, actually,
But yeah,
you can cheese it reasonably well with your horse Steam Boy torrent.
I don't like the horse controls. But anyway, yeah, I still haven't killed a dragon. Do I care? It's just like,
No.
don't need to kill the dragon boy. Not when these things are killing me.
Oh,
You know,
yeah.
I tore through Hogwarts. You know, so that was breeze, and I.
Yeah, I was expecting,
I'm fine.
because I tried not to get much, but like a lot of people were complaining about the fighting the dog.
Oh, he was very easy.
That dog was so easy. I was like, what?
I think I did it on the second go.
It was a second go for me as well.
Yeah.
And the first go was very close, and I kind of just got a little cocky.
Yeah, yeah. But, yeah, and that's the thing, it's like, I try, I am a bit OCD like you, where it's like, I go through these dungeons several times to be like, just make sure that I've got everything, seen everything. But yeah, it's like, I'm fine with jumping all over the map. I don't have to just like, okay, I've done this entire map fragment, let me go on to this one. I'm just like, wherever I find myself next.
Yeah, I'm not like super invested in making sure I don't miss anything on the at all. It's more of like I'm trying to go through the map areas fairly close, but I'm also like, because you can put markers on the map, which again I like a lot better, because you can choose not to do it, or I've literally put, like, I use the skull icons on, like, I know there's a boss or something to kill here, and like treasure for, like, I have 3 icons I basically plop down on the map to be like, I want to come back to this. And that's great, because I know I can come back in a couple months and be like, right, so I didn't deal with this part of the map, I'll go back and figure out why I put that icon there.
I can't remember if I used icons. I just remember that I've got like a list that looks like, you know, like the Zodiac Killer wrote it, like of just notes of like what I want to go see. I was like writing in like saw dudes in volcano.
Ah, yeah. Is that near the manor?
I don't know. I know what happened to me. I don't know where it happened though, because it's been a while. Death bird in Southern Peninsula. Night? Question mark.
Nice.
So,
I mean,
yeah.
Go
Pebbly guys with spears in the well. Yeah. If
Nice.
anyone reads this, I'd think I'm crazy. So yeah, these are all the notes. Oh, this is a long list. But yeah, I've got a checklist of where I've actually the dungeons that I've completed. So because you know when you beat the boss, it's like okay. So yeah, multi-limbed swamp thing near Lakeside Ruins. Dropped ghost glovewort.
Ghost Glovewort. That's a useful thing.
Yeah.
So, why I wanted to talk about this Elden Ring and Tunic was because Tunic obviously has its manual and its way of communicating in things, and you've dealt with. You finished the game, right?
Yeah.
So I thought maybe that'd be a good pairing with, especially considering you didn't have the same experience with Elden Ring's map as I did. But Tunic, you need to interact with its static information to get through, right?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the information is included in those pages, and I think if you miss one of those pages, you could potentially not soft lock yourself out the game, but like be completely lost and have to, go through a walkthrough to try and figure out what's going on.
But is there a way of totally missing? Like you can.
Yeah, I think there is. Yeah.
You can. There's. I thought all the pages were findable at any point, kind of thing. Like.
Yeah, they are.
Sorry, what I was trying to ask was, are there pages where if you miss them once, you're screwed, or is it just that you'd have to backtrack through the world to find the page you were missing?
I mean, everything. The thing in Tunic is that I think most things, in the game are accessible right from the jump. It's just that you don't know they're there or how to interact with them.
Yeah.
And I think every page is like, yeah, you can get to it, but you need that prior knowledge, first of all, to get to it. And if you happen to miss one of those pages, then you're not going to have that knowledge,
right.
That inherent knowledge that you need. So, Tunic is a interesting game in that sense, because I think when you've played games enough, or played games for as long as time, to have nostalgia about those manual pages, you probably have a good grasp of, game design and game mechanics and what you need to do, because especially that, I really had some not great things to say about the end of that game, because a lot of it is like, okay, this world that was so familiar to me, it's like it's changed, and not in a way that's intuitive. That's a bit more obtuse. And there are some things that it's like, I looked up a walkthrough because it's like, how was I meant to know this? It's not. I don't think it's anything in the manual,
right?
But it's just like, you have to figure this out. It's like, how would I even notice this? It's like, and that's like on the critical path, not even to get like a true ending and stuff. So I don't know. Tunic is a hard one. It's a game that I very much liked, because I thought the manual thing was different. I think it's something that's, can probably only be unique to a game that's completely designed around it, and it works for the most part in this case. I don't know if it would work in any other case, or I think I wouldn't recommend this, other developers just doing this for the sake of it. This game obviously had that idea from the ground up, and it isn't just anything like throwaway. The game's built around that manual, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah, so just if you want to give the listeners, if they haven't played the game or heard us talk about it, just a quick couple minutes on what we mean by the manual and getting around the world and
yeah, Tunic is a Zelda-like. It's an isometric 3D game where it plays a little fox. It's mostly action oriented. You've got like a sword and stuff, but it does a lot of things with perspective, where, say, you can get to a completely advanced part of the map, but you don't have that prior knowledge to get there, because it could just be, okay, you pick up one of these manual pages, and it's just filling in a manual, like in the options menu, like you'd expect to find,
so it's like a paper manual from games of our youth, right? So it has all the fragments of the map world, and like how to do moves, and you learn how to do stuff based on
everything is written in this kind of like, is it runic kind of language or whatever? So none of it is in English. So you're basically looking at the pictures and deciphering what they mean.
And sometimes there's like handwritten notes in them, which is like one of those touches that immediately like won me over to the idea, because it felt like, just like you had your Elden Ring list, which is on your phone when we were young, you used to just write on a scrap piece of paper, if you were OCD enough not to want to write on the manual, or you write on the manual, right? And it's so well done in evoking that
Yes, yes,
feeling.
yes. Yeah. And these little notes, either, those that were written by, fake third party or the games manual itself, you're trying to glean things from that. So something as simple as how to upgrade your stats is one of the manual pages. It's like, hold down A at this particular statue and you'll be able to trade this item that you picked up but you don't know what it is prior to that, and now you can upgrade your character and stuff
And
like
it took
that.
me depressing a long amount of time to figure that one out.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like you have to know that. I mean, first of all, you have to know that it's like the manual is essential, because in any other game, we're just trying to think like, oh yeah, that's probably just a collectible. I'll get an achievement when I get 30 of these or whatever.
Yeah.
But it's like, no, that is a crucial part of the game. And I don't think that was known pre-release. I thought everyone thought it was like a Zelda like.
I think it's reasonably well telegraphed by the game, but like I said, it took basically once you make a discovery in the manual, it kind of makes it very clear that there's other things to find. But
there's different levels to it as well.
Sorry?
Where it's like, there's different levels to that, because sometimes it's just like, okay, you think like, okay, this is just like the mechanics it's telling me, but it's, that I'll need to get through the game, but it's like, no, there's other secrets in it and stuff like that, so it's like it's a lot of different layers, so...
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So, just on, not on the, like, how you felt at the end of the game, but just on that notion of sort of drip feeding you not only just information, but the levels of information that you can get, in contrast with, like for example, Elden Ring, where it's like, there are details on the map that you can learn and figure out what they mean in the world, but that's like, it's a map. You can be Aadil the cartographer, or you can be Lucy the explorer, and you're fine.
Yeah.
Versus Ubisoft, it feels like we're on this spectrum, where Tunic is kind of the cartographer / decoding game, where that's a main mechanic, is figuring out how much information and what the information is that's being presented to you. And clearly from our conversation, I thought Elden Ring was much closer to that, but clearly, like, you don't have to be, you can engage with it to a level, but you don't. And I think part of the reason why that, like, we both have very different approaches to the map in Elden Ring is because so much of the joy of that game is that the world feels unique and explorable, and you can explore with a map or not. Because at the end of the day, I'm using the map to be like, is there something this way? But I also sometimes just wander around and like, oh, where am I? And your primary method was just more of the latter, and like that works.
Yeah, I think it just comes down to another version of like design though, whereas Tunic is a very unique specimen, and it's hard to compare it to most other things. I'd say it's probably more like The Witness in a sense that when you've developed this sense of language of like what the game's trying to tell you what to do, that's when things become apparent. But there's just far more roadblocks in the likes of Tunic. It's like, if you don't see something, you don't understand, can't decipher what the map is trying to tell you, or you know, it's just far easier to get, just a roadblock in that game, like The Witness, compared to something like Elden Ring. It's like, yes, there's a roadblock in terms of the skill level maybe in Elden Ring, but you can still go wherever you want in the map, and it's like...
Well, and that's kind of the best part, is like, sure, you can't redo the dungeons, which I that's the only thing that I would like, that entices me about like
New Game Plus
would be like, I would love to try and fight that boss again, but like so far there's been like Like the like stone dogs. There's like 4 or 5 of them in the game, and so I'm
God,
getting.
I never want to fight those again. They're
such a pain in the
scary.
ass.
They're
But
scary.
but like
Nightmares.
there's still like there's enough repetition slash growth of boss type, or sometimes they show up as non-boss enemies that I feel like I'm getting enough of that. Oh, right. What was that pattern? How is this one different? That's good enough for me. I don't need to like come back and be like, I have this god tier build, and even if you have twice the health, I'm just gonna smack you down. Like I don't feel that, but I do I do get it, right? Like I get the like, oh, that was a fun boss battle. I wish I could just repeat it.
Yeah, I love that game because it's the most FU kind of like creature that just springs to mind is, you know, those birds with like daggers wrapped around their feet.
You mean the raptors with the sword, right? Like the birds of prey.
Yeah. And when you first see that, and it's just like, okay, these will stab me up, and then it's just, and then it's like one that's hidden around a corner, and it's like just got the exploding barrel. And
this tries to drop on you and then stab you as you get up. Yeah,
and I'm just thinking, I love that game because it's just like, okay, this enemy is already like, oh, F you. And then they just ratchet it up to be like, oh no, double F you.
Yeah. The point is,
I love how sadistic that game is. I don't know.
What makes it work is the balance, right? There's just enough fuck you, but there's always a way. Like it's just a matter of figuring it out. And as soon as you get on board with that, it's like, yeah, okay, cool. And I think what makes me like it in a way that I think I would have struggled, like now I think I could play some of the linear versions, linear From Software games, because I
don't know if I could.
Well, at least I could give it the old college try. But the reason why it works so well with Elden Ring is because I could just fuck off somewhere else.
Yeah, that's what I like. I don't like bashing my head over and over again.
Well, like
the only thing that I was ever jealous about people being able to play those games and me not, because I'd get too frustrated, is just seeing the enemy designs. I've always loved the enemy designs. It's like, just give me an art book of Bloodborne. I think I'll be okay.
Yeah, that's fair.
Maybe I'll try
especially
it,
Bloodborne. It's like I think it's the more unique of their. I guess Sekiro, given that it's in a very different setting, but like it's got that slightly more gothic than the rest. Yeah. Anyhoozle, I think that's a good place for us to stop. Did you have any last thoughts on your beer?
No, it was very good. It was typical Zare beer. Just been craving it. I think the 5.8% helps. That it's like that didn't feel the need just to smash it back, even though I could have. Nice bit of body to it, so just easy to sup on over time. But yeah, just typical Zare beer. Just very nice. A bit more bitter, I'd say. Bitterness. Like piney, resinous, like kind of notes to it, more so than their more fruitier offers. But I think they've been going towards that way. But I think some of the most recent day beers have tasted a bit more vegetal, rather than like, you know, just nice balance of fruit and pininess and bitterness. This didn't have that at all. This. I'm not going to say quality beer, because all of their beers are quality, and but I think a lot of the more recent Daya beers have just been a bit less. It seems like they have less care put into them, and I don't mean that as a slight on the brewer, and this as if they haven't put more care into it. But this seems like they've got the balance right. You know, some of the others that I've had in the past, more recently.
I was going to say, I recall the last few days you've had, and I mean, it's one of the things where it's like you want to be iterating all of the time, and so sometimes you go through a stretch where you don't quite nail it, and that doesn't mean that you've been phoning it in. It means that the thing you've been trying is taking some time to figure out, and it sounds like what you're saying is this is a figured out beer.
Yeah, because it's like reverting back to type, and like their type is a very good, well balanced beer. Whereas maybe you're right, it's like they have been putting out a lot of beers, and not all of them have hit. Some of them absolutely have. Some of them been real nice. Like, I think I had one in was it a lager? A mosaic lager or something like that? I can't remember.
Oh.
But that was very nice. And, yeah, so, some are hitting, some aren't, which is not something I thought 5 years ago I'd say about Daya, but...
Yeah, I remember the first one you had on the pod that wasn't quite hitting, and all three of us were kind of just like... What? Like, Ben and I were definitely like, what do you mean it's not?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Do you have COVID? Is your taste bud fucked? I haven't. Oh, thank Christ I didn't lose my taste last week, by the way.
Oh, good. Yeah.
Would have gone mad being in my room, having to mask to use the bathroom, and not being able to taste the minimal things that I was eating. I mean, I did a, like, 2-for-1 pizza, large pizza for, like, 2.5 days. That was my meal. It's just like, fuck it, I don't care.
If there's any time just to be a slob...
It's called Monday. Monday is slob.
Yes, to be fair. You don't have to be a slob to order 2 pizzas. Yeah. That's just
I mean, it's just
you should do in life.
It was the same price as one pizza.
Pizza's good food.
Yeah. Even speaking of pineapples, I mean pizzas. The I Love Lamp pineapple hefeweizen. I am happy to report that my suspicions were correct. I did get used to the pineapple, and it did make it feel a little more beery by the end. I also think I missed that it was 5.5%, and I think that helped give it a bit more of a creamy texture, a little more viscosity, and kind of round out that acidic pineapple taste. And so those malts had some space to grow into the beer, which again, for a Hefeweizen, I didn't think I'd be like, malts. But that was, I think, really integral that I got that maltiness, because it felt more like a beer by the end and less like...
Yeah.
At no point did it taste like an alcopop, but it definitely tasted like a thing that was pineapple flavored. And by the end, it was like, yes, like I still have this pineapple aftertaste. I will for probably 10 minutes after we stop recording. But I no longer, like, my sips were no longer, yes, this is a pineapple drink.
Yeah. Good, because a lot of pineapple beers can be very disappointing and just fades. You can't even taste it, so.
Exactly, yeah.
That's good in that sense, yeah.
If people wanted to tell you why you're wrong about pineapples and pizza, how would they do that?
At Juicy Loose 9, pretty much everywhere.
And I'm at the Omniarch, and you can find us at TankedUpCast on Twitter and Instagram, and you can find all of the things that we do here at Out of Lives Network at outoflives.net, or Out of Lives Network on Facebook and YouTube, where there are no VODs, podcasts, etc. There's a bunch of us who do articles and game reviews and all kinds of pop culture nerd media stuff, so check out outoflives.net. If you're watching us on the YouTubes, don't forget to like, subscribe, all those things, and tell us your favorite thing to have pineapples with. It can be chunks, it can be dessert, it can be pizza, it can be beer. But is it? Let us know in the comments. And that'll do it for us. We've been tanked up.
Yeah, maybe Ben will be back next week, but who knows?
Yeah, we will be.
He's with Child.
Yeah.
Yes, we will be. Oh, as long as the world doesn't burn down. But yeah, bye.
Ciao.
www.outoflives.net